It's dark outside. The rain relentlessly pours down and it's past midnight, but you're looking for somewhere to go and take a seat. Perhaps enjoy a conversation. Where do you go? Well, to Coffee Talk, of course. The one caffeine-inspired establishment open at this hour. And in this game, we just happen to be the barista. So come on in. Welcome to a world of fantasy where orcs, elves, werewolves and other friends live together in Seattle and across the globe. And yet, despite the fantasy elements of our characters here, they all have very real-world life problems. And we're going to get to know them better with some gentle conversation and good old-fashioned eavesdropping. Every now and then, we might even make a warm beverage or two. It's kind of important for a coffee shop. Let's start with Freya, who, if you don't consider to be the main character of Coffee Talk, is definitely the most consistent customer. Passionate, fiery, and possibly the worst person in the world to share a secret with, Freya brings all the characters together with her naturally curious and inquisitive mind. To be frank, she gets involved in pretty much every and any conversation she is within listening distance of, and is never afraid to share a little of her own ideas and advice with the broad cast of characters who end up in our coffee shop. And yet she is a very likeable character and stands out with her ability to get very excited when so many others appear downtrodden. Freya is writing her own story, and we follow along as she moves through the writing process, from inspiration to drafting to just downright looking scary. And at times she might get a little nosy, and in one case pretty cruel to this old cat, but we are drawn to her due to her interactions and willingness to get involved. For as you can see, as the barista in this story, our character, well, the one we name and make the different hot drinks with, remains quite impartial through the journey. In real life, I would probably be a little more judgmental or offer some pretty poor advice, and who hasn't done that before? But in Coffee Talk, my character remains the perfect picture of poise, checking the phone to find different recipes, to change the music, or perhaps just to check out our friends on social media to know them a little better. So Freya's willingness to get in there, throw out all sorts of ramblings and laugh through the conversation, well, it's refreshing. The characters in Coffee Talk vary through both their race, their personality, and their hot beverage preferences. They do each have their own unique problem and source of tension that draws you in and makes it really hard to put the game down. Let's talk about Bailey's, the smug-looking elf who just happens to be a gun graphic designer as well. I really didn't like his character at the start, partly due to his interpretation of my fantastic latte art, but also just due to the coldness and seeming arrogance that he has. But through a few interactions, we immediately begin to learn a bit more about him as a character and start to advocate for him, hoping that it turns out well. Believe it or not, but you can actually relate to the problems that are being explained between this elf and his succubus partner. And that's a sentence I never thought I would end up saying. Coffee Talk is a game that you quickly get into the rhythm of. It's one you could easily share with someone else and enjoy the storyline together. You're interacting with customers, making different drinks and experimenting with the available ingredients, and then in my case, trying your best to make the latte art look distinguishable. It is usually at that point when you feel like you have the game figured out, that it throws a spanner into the mix, like my favourite character, the spacesuit wearing alien that has come to Earth on a very specific and interesting mission. Let's just say that this character is swiping right a lot and hoping to have some interactions with the local ladies of Seattle. If you want to find out how his date with Yurikai69, a local orc from a dating app, goes, well, you'll have to play the game for yourself. To be honest, I just really wanted to mention that name. I could go on for hours and hours about the different characters that make an appearance in Coffee Talk, and the way they bring their own unique perspectives to the game. From Rachel the Nico person making her way as a pop princess in the world, to Georgie the local friendly cop who loves nothing more than extending a coffee break and making jokes at Freya's expense. What I really enjoyed is the way that despite each character having their own problem or distinct storyline, you still get to see them interact with each other, to the point that the story arcs become intertwined and woven together. One of my favourite parts of reading fantasy novels set from different perspectives is the way you begin to look forward to certain chapters and character point of views. As the story evolves, so does your anticipation for the different storylines. Take our unique and energetic alien friend as an example. At first I thought of him as comedic relief and expected not to see him again in the future. But moving through the game, I started to look forward to his interaction, and this storyline actually becomes quite less creepy and very much more interesting. Getting into the specifics of the game, it's unapologetically story driven and all about your immersion into the plot. The coffee making is a fun add-on and a nice way to break up the quiet parts, or just build a routine into the game. I've really enjoyed the pacing, and the script writing in Coffee Talk is fantastic. It might seem simple, but it becomes much more complex, and I can't speak highly enough of the way the developers of this game have managed to build a game that is so hard to put down, purely through character dialogue and plot development. The art style is great, and I love the animations of the characters, especially the quickly changing emotions of Freya. The developers of the game, Toge Productions from Indonesia, told me they intended to make a game that felt like watching the rain and enjoying a warm drink. I've always loved that quote, and I think they have really succeeded with it. Coffee Talk is definitely a game you could sit on the couch, alone or with friends, and quickly lose 3 or 4 hours without even realizing, wondering whether Baileys and Lua are going to manage to work it out. If you love story immersion games, then you would be remiss not to check out Coffee Talk, releasing on PC and consoles on the 29th of January. If you've enjoyed this review and have a liking for indie games, please stick around to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment about the game, perhaps your favourite character or storyline. Until next time, take it easy.